Suzuki is literally on a charge. Not only has it electrified its entire range, but it has also expanded it, albeit with more than a little help from its technical collaborator Toyota. Launched in 2020, the Swace was the second model of that partnership, this curiously named model borrowing the design of the familiar, respected Toyota Corolla Touring Sports estate to give the Suzuki brand an entrant into the lucrative C-sector compact estate sector. Now this car's been updated with a punchier hybrid engine, more equipment and an improved cabin. Is it convincing enough to win Suzuki some new friends? When is a Suzuki not quite a Suzuki? For mainstream visitors to the brand, the current answer to that question is when it's a Swace, this car, the company's version of the Toyota Corolla Sports Tourer estate. Here's the improved version Suzuki launched in 2023. With most shared product designs, the manufacturers involved take quite a lot of trouble to change the bits that you can see to further the pretense that the products concerned are actually different. This isn't one of those designs. Back in 2020, Suzuki needed a quick fix to reduce its average CO2 output in Europe and avoid punitive fines from Brussels. So they turned to Toyota, with whom the brand had a long-standing history of business partnerships, and this was the result. With this improved Swace, as with the original, virtually no attempt at differentiation from the donor car has been made, apart from a subtly different nose design and different badges on the wheels and inside on the steering wheel. At least you know what you're getting. And what you're getting is the estate version of a car that we've previously recommended, the Toyota Corolla, one of the very few family hatchbacks and estates available with a self-charging full hybrid engine. Now, the Corolla was substantially improved for the 2023 model year, so the Swace got an upgrade too, creating the car that we're going to look at here, which, like its predecessor, is still British built by Toyota at Burnaston in Derbyshire. The Swace has brought Suzuki back into a market sector that previous to 2020 it had been absent from, since it offered the Baleno estate at the turn of the century. But that car never sold very strongly. With the added draw of electrified technology, the brand hopes it'll now be a different story for its prospects in this segment. But will it? You'll need the industry's most comprehensive review, the Car and Driving Road Test, to find out. So what's new with this improved Swace? It certainly doesn't feel any different when you get behind the wheel and press the power button. As before, a beep is accompanied by a green ready message on the left of the instrument cluster and a left-hand green EV in-car icon. Time to see what's changed here. Quite a lot, according to Suzuki. As before, Swace Fokker only offered the smaller of the two hybrid engines available in this car's Toyota Corolla donor model, but that's the unit most customers of this Suzuki would want anyway. The 1.8 litre VVTi full hybrid power plant in question has been changed quite a lot as part of this update. Its electric motor output boosted from 53 kilowatts to 70 kilowatts, a 23 horsepower change that's increased torque from 163 to 185 newton meters. As a result, the Swace will in this form feel usefully more responsive should you come to it from the older version. The 0 to 62 mile an hour time has consequently dropped from 11.1 to 9.4 seconds. The engine's power output is 96 horsepower at 5,200 RPM, but taking the electric motor's contribution into account, the combined system output is 140 horsepower, up from 122 horsepower previously. As before, top speed is pegged at 111 miles an hour, and drive is through a CVT auto gearbox bereft of paddle shifters. What for us is even more significant is the work that's been put in to remap accelerator response so that it better matches what your right foot's trying to achieve. The engineers behind this car have also worked hard to improve its hybrid system's belt-driven CVT auto gearbox in recent years, but with the pre-facelift version of this car, there was still a rather disconnected feeling between throttle pedal, transmission and powertrain. You plonked your right foot down and it took a while for anything meaningful to actually happen. For this updated model, things have improved because the throttle has been calibrated to better suit familiar driving scenarios such as stop-start traffic and frequent changes in speed limits. The acceleration also now adapts to up and downhill driving, synchronizing the engine speed with the driver's inputs to give a more natural feel, without the unnecessary flares of revs that in the pre-facelift model could make the car sometimes noisy at highway speeds. It's still far from perfect though, and the CVT transmission's occasional uncertainty and the drive system's background lowing noise when you try and push it along faster than it wants to go both remain sometimes annoying. If this Swace was to use a dual clutch auto gearbox with proper cogs rather than the CVT setup's rubber belt as part of its hybrid powertrain, as the Hyundai Motor Group does with its hybrids, we can't help thinking that this issue would be far better resolved. As with the original model, 3 drive settings can be selected: normal, eco or sport. The driver can also select a fully electric EV mode for those times when completely silent or emission-free running is preferred, such as for inner city work or even early morning starts. In this setting, the car has the potential to cover a mile or so on pure battery power. EV mode can be used for driving short distances without having to worry about noise or emissions, especially in residential areas early in the morning and late at night, or in garages and indoor parking lots. Combining both engine and electricity, however, can still reap the environmental rewards depending on what you select. Normal mode will give the driver the optimal balance between fuel economy and performance, whereas eco will enhance the fuel economy through throttle response and even go as far as limiting the air conditioning. Sport will provide a quicker throttle response to emphasize the acceleration when needed. Now, there haven't been any changes made to the steering or suspension, but none were really needed. The undemanding ride and handling compromise is well judged as it was before, and refinement is still excellent. Overall, in this improved form, this Swace feels a smoother, more complete package. The engineering upgrade means that overtakes don't have to be planned quite so far in advance, and the car is much more pleasurable as a driving companion, easing along at a relaxed gait, perhaps with one eye on the provided energy flow monitor as drive seamlessly connects and disconnects from fossil fueled power. Visual changes to this updated Swace are slight. A few exterior styling tweaks and some different lighting finishes, that's about it. Otherwise, it's as you were, which means it's an almost carbon copy of its Toyota Corolla Touring Sports donor model. As before, unlike its Corolla cousin, this Swace is only available as an estate. Like the Corolla donor model, it's quite a sharp looking car and a far cry from Suzuki's turn-of-the-century Baleno estate, the brand's last offering in this class. A strong dynamic crease blends out from the front wheel arch towards the rear, breaking the side profile embellished by standard 16-inch alloy wheels. Apart from the Suzuki logo on the hubcaps, none of this is any different to a Corolla. Even the hybrid badges on the front wings are Toyota stock items. At the front, Suzuki's been permitted to lightly redesign the central and side intakes, and there's a prominent brand badge on the nose. Compared to the original Swace, there are changes to the daytime running light signature of these LED headlights, and these little round lower fog lamps have redesigned bezels. Otherwise, things are as before, the narrow upper grille set beneath the curved front edge of a flat clamshell bonnet. The rear is also cleanly styled, if perhaps not quite as distinctive, though with a small rear bumper redesign. The hatch's rounded shaping is made possible by use of a resin material for the tailgate, which allows the fabrication of more complex curves, these complemented by quite an angled rear screen. The restyled all-LED rear lamp clusters have light guides located as far out towards the vehicle's edge as possible to emphasise its wider stance. There's a tailgate Swace badge in case the neighbours, understandably, jump to the conclusion that you bought a Corolla. And further up, you get this neat roof spoiler with a shark fin style aerial just beyond. Of course, as usual, what's more important is the stuff you can't see, namely the particularly stiff new era Toyota GAC platform. Moving inside, the Swace continues to offer little differences over its Corolla cousin, apart from the badge on the steering wheel and Swace branding on the mats. There are no differences otherwise. Still, perhaps that's a good thing, because it means that this upgraded design gets the much improved standard of media connectivity that Toyota's lately introduced into its version of this model. The centre screen is still a modest 8 inches in size, unlike the 10.5-inch screen now fitted to the Corolla, but it's now of higher definition and includes Apple CarPlay wireless smartphone mirroring. In addition, there's a 6-speaker DAB audio system and a built-in rear-view camera. Not everything about this improved monitor is great, mind you. You can't split the screen up into customizable segments, as is the case with most rival setups. The voice control functionality isn't up to much, the Android Auto connection still isn't wireless, and the left-hand menu touch-sensitive shortcut buttons that cover music, phone, car and settings aren't as easy to use on the move as the physical ones that used to frame the previous 8-inch monitor. For the instrument binnacle, there's an upgraded central 7-inch multi-information display. It isn't quite as striking as the one you now get in an equivalent Corolla, which shows an image of the car in different colours whenever you select a different drive mode. Here, the main screen is more conventional, flanked by engine temperature and fuel readouts, while the central part, flanked by digital temperature, time, odometer and range readings, is a power meter gauge with charge, eco and power sections. In the centre of that, you're briefed on speed, gear selection, drive mode and drive assist features. And below that is a central customizable area which can be controlled by these steering wheel buttons to show things like eco data, music selection, drive info and safety features. What else? Well, the cabin ambience just about matches what you'd expect for the asking price, helped by shiny black finishing, white stitching and silver detailing. These touches, along with soft touch plastics, help lift the ambience of a slightly dark interior. As before, there's a pretty exemplary, fairly high set driving position, which sees almost everything falling naturally to hand, including these silver bezeled climate knobs, which you'll constantly be reaching for, thinking that they're part of the audio system. The designers have worked hard on the black cloth trimmed seats, which are very comfortable, slide a long way back and incorporate standard heating and powered lumbar support for the driver. Our only comment is that side support could be better. Unfortunately, these front chairs lack the usual twist dial style of backrest adjustment. Instead, you've to use the more inexact method of pulling this rather sharp-edged control lever, then rocking your weight back and forth until you find the right position. The steering wheel adjustment could do with a bit more extension in and out too. All models get all-round parking sensors and include that rear-view camera that we just mentioned, which is just as well because the relatively chunky rear pillars mean that over-the-shoulder vision is less than perfect. Narrow A-pillars and the large glass house mean that there are no impediments to your view frontwards though. Right, on to cabin practicality. Well, there's a large glove box, though it isn't cooled. Door bins are small, you don't get ticket clips in the sun visors, and what looks to be an overhead sunglasses compartment turns out not to be. These twin cup holders behind the gear stick ought to be covered but aren't, and this stowage box between the seats, which has a smartly stitched top, incorporates a 12-volt socket and a USB-C port. Let's take a look in the rear. As before, it's fairly tight space-wise by class standards back here, both in terms of leg and headroom. Restrictions rather emphasised by the way the curved roof lining slopes down ahead and to the side of you. The footwells are also pretty tight, and cramming 3 adult folk back here is going to be something of a squash. Of course, to some extent that'll be true whichever car you pick in this class, but some manage significantly better than others. A rival Ford Focus Estate, for instance, is a significant 35mm wider than this Swace. On the plus side, the transmission tunnel here is quite low, and rear vents are provided too, along with small shallow door bins, a central armrest incorporating cup holders, and coat hooks in the grab handles. There's also a seat back pocket, but only on the passenger side. Out back, there's a class competitive 596 litre boot. That's better than a Ford Focus Estate, 575 litres, but way short of the class leading Skoda Octavia Estate, 640 litres. There's a detachable tonneau cover that can be retracted with a single touch, and extra space resides beneath the floor, though only because there's no standard spare wheel of any kind. There are spacious recesses to the left and right of the load area, along with 4 silver tie-downs and a further narrow opening compartment just below the base of the rear seat. The rear seat can be flattened in a 60-40 split by using these cargo sidewall catches, which creates a total loading space of up to 1,232 litres. The boot floor is of the variable height kind, and there's a 12-volt socket on the right. Owners with pets will like the vertical partition net too. Entry to Swace ownership starts at around £29,000 as we filmed in autumn 2023. That was for base motion trim. The plusher ultra spec we have here cost, as we filmed, around £1,800 more. These figures might look a little high at first, but when you take into account the sophisticated full hybrid tech and look at the high level of equipment fitted, they might seem a little bit more palatable. Also, the fact that this is an estate model brings an element of practicality into the mix too. Rivals to the car are a mixed bag, with many not offering this model's full hybrid efficiency. Of course, the biggest competitor to consider will be the Toyota Corolla Touring Sports estate model this Swace is based on. One of those in base Icon trim costs around the same as a Swace with this top ultra spec. Potential customers might also be looking at estate versions of the Ford Focus, the Volkswagen Golf, the Seat Leon, or the Skoda Octavia, with far less economic mild hybrid engines. Standard Swace equipment has improved as part of this update. The base motion model includes 16-inch alloy wheels, LED projector headlamps, silver roof rails, and rear privacy glass. Plus, there's also dynamic radar cruise control, keyless entry, rear parking sensors, auto headlamps and wipers, power folding heated mirrors, LED rear lights, and an alarm. Inside, you get heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, dual zone automatic air conditioning with an S-Flow mode, and a pollen filter. There's a driver's seat with powered lumbar support, an auto dimming rearview mirror, and a 7-inch digital instrument cluster screen. Media connectivity is taken care of by a revised 8-inch LCD colour screen with a smart phone link system for wireless Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto device connectivity, plus a rear parking camera and a USB-C port. The top ultra grade that we're trying here adds updated bi-LED projector headlamps, front fog lamps, front parking sensors, interior ambient lighting, and a center console tray with a wireless charger. Safety kit across the range includes an emergency driving stop system, now improved with longer detection range, Plus there's a lane centering function, lane departure alert, auto high beam headlamps, road sign assist, a pre-collision system, a steering assist function, driver monitoring and vehicle sway warning. Passive stuff includes smart door locking, tyre pressure monitoring, hill hold control, vehicle stability control, the usual assistance for braking and traction, and an e-call system that will automatically alert the rescue services if any of the airbags go off. Oh, there are 7 of those, by the way, including a driver's knee bag. While with this ultra spec, you also get a blind spot monitor and rear cross traffic alert. New with this top variant is Safe Exit Assist, which warns occupants if they're about to open a door in front of a vehicle or a cyclist. The hybrid system fitted to the Swace gives reasonably impressive fuel economy and running costs without the need for plugging in. The combined fuel economy figure is up to 62.7 mpg according to WLTP figures, with emissions of just 102 grams per kilometre. That's massively better than you'd get from the mild hybrid contenders in this segment, like estate versions of the Volkswagen Golf, the Ford Focus, the Seat Leon and the Skoda Octavia, which can't ever run purely on battery power in the way the Suzuki can for short periods. So let's delve deeper into how this Swace has managed this benchmark efficiency showing. Well, moving into the modern battery age has certainly helped. The battery in use here is now smaller, as well as being both lighter and more powerful. And sure enough, weight's 14% down and power's 14% up. The engineers didn't stop there either. They optimized the battery's cooling path to help prevent deterioration caused by temperature fluctuations and preserve battery life. At the same time, they developed a new power control unit which helps reduce the level of electrical losses in the system by up to 14% with this 1.8 litre engine. Plus, the hybrid system's high output motor generator now has fresh internals that promote efficiency. In addition, the gear cogs have smaller teeth, a low viscosity oil is now used to reduce internal friction, and both the transaxle and the differential are both significantly lighter. So that's explained why the figures are so good, but they do of course depend heavily on the way that you drive the car. Lots of tools are provided to help you here. Obviously, you'll need to default to the eco driving mode, which moderates throttle response and engine power output while tweaking the climate control. Plus, you'll also need to keep the gear stick in B rather than D to maximize regenerative braking. You'll also want to keep the power meter needle hovering in the charge and eco sections rather than the power segment. Now, if you do all that, then you're going to want to monitor your Swace's ongoing frugality. The infotainment screen in the center of the dash has a trip info segment made up of a current section giving you an MPG readout and a history section graphically showing you your latest and average MPG, as well as MPG returns by date. Otherwise, nearly all your other eco-driving tools are in the instrument binnacle. You can select an eco zone option in the central dial space that scores you on your drive efficiency in terms of starting, cruising and stopping. The engineers behind this self-charging hybrid engine reckon, rather ambitiously, that it's capable of covering up to 80% of a typical daily commuting drive under electric power alone. In the mixed conditions of this test, we found it to be more like 60-65%, but that's still a very strong performance. Clever touches also help, like the S-Flow control in the air conditioning, which allows for the climate system to detect the number of occupants and take into account the ambient temperature, then altering its output accordingly, thereby saving energy wherever possible. As with Toyota hybrids, there's an available EV button that's supposed to fix the car in electrified motion. In reality though, you'll find that the batteries are hardly ever charged up enough for you to be able to use this feature. And even when you can, it'll only last for just over a mile. But trying to treat a hybrid engine like a plug-in hybrid is missing the point. You just leave it to do its thing. which in town means the battery is constantly recharging itself and powering the electric motor to take over from the engine. That's a process that you can watch via a selectable energy flow monitor available on the car section of the center screen. It's also selectable on the instrument binnacle screen. Finally, when you power off, a trip summary pops up on the instrument screen ahead, giving you the distance you've just covered, the trip time, the percentage of the trip you've covered in EV drive, and the trip average in miles per gallon, which during this test has rarely dropped below 50 miles to the gallon. You might hope the improvements made to this hybrid power plant would entitle you to significantly better treatment from the inland revenue, but sadly not. This Swace, like its Corolla donor model, attracts a benefit in kind rating of between 25 to 26%. As a point of comparison, we'll tell you that a Volkswagen Golf 1 litre E-TSI mild hybrid estate is rated at 30%, while a Golf 2 litre TDI 115 PS estate is up at 32%. But that's only part of the story. Take all aspects of your running cost into account, and this Swace hybrid's advantage over conventionally powered rivals is considerable. There should be some savings to make when it comes to routine maintenance as well, though garage visits are quite frequent, every 10,000 miles or 12 months, depending on which comes round soonest. Still, there's no starter motor or alternator to go wrong. There are no dry belts to break. A maintenance-free timing chain is in place. There's no particulate filter to get clogged up with diesel fumes. And of course, thanks to the CVT auto gearbox, no clutch either. The Toyota-sourced hybrid setup has a good record for minimizing tire wear, and its battery will last the life of the car. Plus, the regenerative braking setup helps extend the life of the brake pads. Over 60,000 miles of driving, the front pads should only need replacing once, while the rear pads and all discs will probably last the full distance. Hybrid models are subject to extra service checks, but Suzuki doesn't charge any more to do it. All of this technology might make you worry about this Swace hybrid model's reliability, but the Prius-derived engineering in use here scores very highly in almost every customer satisfaction survey going. Unlike early Toyota hybrid models, there's no extended warranty for the hybrid components. Early Priuses were covered for up to 8 years. One area where Suzuki does drastically differ from the Toyota equivalent is with its warranty, only offering a 3-year 60,000 mile warranty as opposed to the package you get with the Corolla, which can be extended up to 10 years. It might seem odd that Suzuki, often previously such an innovative manufacturer, would merely rebadge a Toyota to widen its electrified model offering. This technology, though, demands years of experience and huge investment. Should Suzuki have made its customers wait for full hybrid tech, then charge them richly for it? Or use proven tech from an established partner, allowing them to bring this engineering quickly to market at a relatively affordable price? You can see why the second approach makes more sense, and this Swace model fully embraces it, especially in this updated form. For the money that you'd spend to get mild hybrid tech that makes hardly any difference to running costs on comparable estate versions of the Golf, the Focus, the Leon and the Octavia, here you get a full hybrid powertrain that can, in contrast, run at times exclusively on full electric power, so delivering significantly lower running costs, and all at better value pricing than this car's Toyota clone can offer. If that makes sense to you, then this car might too.